I call this meeting to order.
It's 7:06. The council will come to order. Council will come to order. All rise to salute the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing for a moment of silence in honor of our veterans, service members, and those who have given the ultimate sacrifice. Please remain standing for a moment of silence for our former city solicitor, John McNaught, who unfortunately passed away from a battle with cancer. He's in our memory, and we wish his family all of the best wishes.
Mr. President, if I knew you were going to be in your seat tonight, I would have stopped at Burger King and got you one of them hats.
The clerk will call the roll.
Councilor Cologne Hayes. Councilor Condon. Councilor Crowe. Councilor Linehan. Councilor McDonald. Councilor O'Malley. Councilor Seega. Councilor Simonelli. Councilor Spatafora. Councilor Taylor. And Councilor Winslow are not in attendance.
Under provisions of the open meeting law, those of you in attendance, please be informed that UMA, Urban Media Arts, will be recording this evening's meeting. So just be aware there will be audio and video recordings of this meeting. First order of business, public comment.
We don't have anybody signed up for public comment.
Do we have anything in the, okay, we have no public comment. This evening's consent agenda consists of meeting minutes to be approved, one appointment to be referred to Personnel Committee, one petition of 6 small cells to be referred to public property, and one communication to be placed on file. Does any councillor have a desire to remove any of these items from the consent agenda for the purpose of further discussion? On Councillor Seega's motion to approve the consent agenda, seconded by Councillor Cologne Hayes, all those in favor, please say aye. Any opposed? The consent agenda is approved. Next order of business.
Paper 254-24, Committee Report, the Standing Committee on License, to whom was referred papers 224 through 226 and 228 through 234, series of 2024. Having considered the same, make the following report.
On Councillor Seega's motion to receive the committee report, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? The committee report is received. The clerk will read the papers.
Paper 224-24, Livery Company, Bella Luxury Transportation, 19 Mount Vernon Street, 1 vehicle, new. Paper 225-24, Livery Driver, Michael Checker, 19 Mount Vernon Street, Malden, new. Paper 226-24, Lodging House, BREC, LHP, LLC, 155 Clifton Street, renewal. Paper 228-24, Secondhand Dealer, Infinite Garage Sale, Inc., 190A Salem Street, new. Paper 229, Self-Service Gas Station, Snapmart, 245 Main Street, renewal. Paper 230, Taxi Driver, Frank Pensavalle, 328A Bryant Street, new. Paper 231, Pool Tables, Bayo Gay Pool Hall, formerly L&K Billiard Pool Hall, 77 Exchange Street, 7 tables, renewal. Paper 232, Pool Tables, Malden Vets of Irish Ancestry, Incorporated, 177 West Street, 2 tables, renewal. Paper 233-24, Pool Tables, Town Line 10-Pin Corp., 665 Broadway, 15 tables, renewal. Paper 234, Bowling Alley, Town Line 10-Pin Corp., 665 Broadway, 48 lanes, renewal.
Councillor Seega for the committee.
Thank you, Mr. President. The License Committee met this evening to discuss all these petitions. There were no issues with the compliance, guys, and there was a unanimous vote to grant these petitions and move them out of committee favorably. So a motion to approve the petitions.
Is there a second? Counselor by Counselor Condon. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The petitions or the licenses are approved unanimously.
Paper 255-24, Committee Report. The Standing Committee on Rules and Ordinance, in a joint session with Finance Committee, to whom are referred papers 235 and 236, series of 2024, having considered the same, make the following report. Joint committees unanimously recommend both papers out favorably to the full council.
On Counselor Linehan's motion to receive the committee report, seconded by Counselor McDonald. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? The committee report is received. Counselor Linehan. Oh, sorry, the clerk will read the first paper.
That's okay.
Getting ahead of yourself, it's all right.
The first paper is paper 235-24, be it ordained by the Malden City Council that the Code of the City of Malden 2.24.080 firefighter salary schedule be hereby amended to reflect the following compensation levels to be effective July 1st, 2023.
On Counselor Counselor Linehan for the paper.
I need my light.
Oh, sorry. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. So we have some members of the department here in the audience. Thank you so much for being here tonight. Our committee met in a joint session last week. This is the much anticipated and expected matching ordinance and financial papers that will that are the result of ongoing contract negotiations with the fire department. In a nutshell, this collapses the number of steps to advance from a first year to a more senior member of the department. And that's what we learned, is that that's very important for our younger, on average, department. So this will be a really meaningful step financially for a lot of those members. It also makes some other benefit improvements around things like bereavement leave, broadens the definition of a family who's eligible for bereavement leave, adds some holidays, and adds some longevity and education bonuses, and essentially replaces an agreement that expired in July of 2023. So we were unanimous in our support of this and recommended it favorably to the full council.
Thank you, Counselor Linehan. On Counselor Linehan's motion to enroll the ordinance, seconded by Counselor Simonelli, is there any discussion on the motion? Hearing none. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ordinance is enrolled.
Can I make a motion to suspend rules and get this done tonight? They've been waiting this long.
On Counselor Sika's motion to suspend the rules for the purposes of ordaining, seconded by Counselor Spatafora, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? The rules are suspended for the purposes of ordaining. On Counselor Sika's motion to, is it a roll call? Sorry, we have to do a roll call for the rules.
Counselor Cologne Hayes? Yes. Counselor Condon? Yes. Counselor Crowe? Yes. Counselor Linehan?
Yes.
Counselor McDonald? Yes. Counselor O'Malley?
Yes.
Counselor Sika? Yes. Counselor Simonelli? Absolutely. Counselor Spatafora? Yes. Rules have been suspended.
On Counselor Sika's motion to ordain the ordinance, seconded by Counselor Spatafora, all those in favor, please say aye. 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 Any opposed?
Oh, we need roll call.
We need Sorry, we need a roll call. My apologies. It is actually.
Counselor McDonald? Yes. Counselor O'Malley?
Yes.
Counselor Sika? Yes. Counselor Simonelli? Yep. Counselor Spatafora? Yes. All right, it has been ordained.
Congratulations, guys.
And just for the edification of the public, what we just did is we just changed the ordinance to allow the following paper, which is the financing of it, and the clerk will read the next paper.
Paper 236-24, order that the sum of $863,650 be and the same is hereby transferred to fire salaries from the following accounts. Salary reserve, $813,650. Salary reserve for reclassification, $50,000.
Counselor McDonald for the financial paper.
This is just the appropriation to pay the new salary schedule that we just approved, which will bring us current through this fiscal year based on these rates. So I make a motion to approve the order.
On Councillor McDonald's motion to adopt the order, seconded by Councillor Condon. Is there any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor, we will call the roll.
Councilor Cologne Hayes. Yes. Councilor Condon. Yes. Councilor Crowe. Yes. Councilor Linehan.
Yes.
Councilor McDonald.
Yes.
Councilor O'Malley.
Yes.
Councilor Seeka.
Yes.
Councilor Simonelli. Councilor Spatafora. Yes. Order has been adopted.
The order has been adopted. We are now on tabled papers. Are there any motions to take anything from the table? Councillor McDonald? Oh, sorry.
I'd like to make a motion to take paper 18524 off the table for discussion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Councillor Crowe. The clerk will read paper one.
No, we have.
Oh, yep. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The paper is taken from the table. The clerk will read.
Paper 185-24, order that the mayor is authorized to execute an agreement for the use of the parcel as the bike kitchen to be utilized as a bike repair station by the general public who use the Northern Strand Community Trail abutting the property to the east, subject to legal and purchasing review.
If I could, from the chair, just to explain how we got here, there were a number of questions about the proper process of which to both acquire as well as dispossess, whether it's a lease or a license, public property. So I worked with, Councilor Crowe and I worked with the procurement department, Nick Pernice, who provided us the Chapter 30B manual for real property, that it goes in and explains what process you need to follow from a procurement perspective. It also goes into detail about like what a public benefit would be. Additionally, we worked with the legal department to come up with a legal opinion about the proper process from a legal perspective, which is also attached. And so I will open it up for discussion on this.
Just one process point of correction or just point of information. This original paper had been split, and so we already approved the receipt of the property, but had been holding off on approval of the authorization for the mayor to enter into this agreement about the property pending this review. Just want to say that. Can you say that again, Councilor? This was originally a paper that included two pieces. It included the receipt of the property and then an authorization of the mayor to enter into this lease with Bike to the Sea for the use of the property as the bike kitchen. So when this came back to the full council, we split the paper into two papers. We voted on and approved the ability to receive the property, but we haven't made any decisions yet about authorizing the mayor to use it for the purpose that it is currently being used for via leasing agreement. That's what I think we were waiting on the opinions for, to make sure that we were going through with recording the deed and entering into lease agreements, all in the right procedure pending legal and purchasing review. So I think that's where we are now.
Councillor Spatafora.
Yeah, so I spoke to, and maybe I misunderstood. So when I spoke to the legal department, they were hoping to do a 21E. Oh, you're here. Can I ask you a question about the property? Can I have the city solicitor come up?
Of course. Please.
Please.
Alicia McNeil, City Solicitor.
Hi, Alicia, how you doing?
Good, how are you?
So,
I know.
just a couple, have we received the property yet from Hoff's Bakery?
No, we have not received it because you have not voted to actually accept the donation.
Okay, so there was also discussion of doing a 21E on it, right, to confirm that it's not contaminated, is that correct?
That was already done.
That was already done?
Yes.
And then there's a variance on that property that they went for? They got a 5-year variance?
Yes.
So is that committee that they got a 5-year variance for those? Again, it's a moot point when we take the property over. But the Bike to the Sea people want there to get a 5-year variance. I'm assuming because they were too close to probably the city.
It was dimensional control.
For who were they?
For them.
What property were they in violation of?
Well, the property that they're on, they wanted to put the containers on the property, so they went before the Board of Appeal. And the Board of Appeal, actually, they went to the building inspector and did not get a permit, and they appealed it to the Board of Appeal. And the Board of Appeal allowed them the use of the property for, or gave them a variance, let me say, for up to 5 years.
Okay, so my question is, yeah, which was, I never heard of a 5-year variance, that's why I thought that was very odd. I mean, you don't usually get a 5-year variance, because that means after 5 years you gotta leave, right? It's a moot point if we take the property. My question is, next steps would be, we'll vote to send this to the mayor's office, the mayor will negotiate a lease?
Yes, I assume the mayor will negotiate a lease unless the council wants to determine what the lease is. Right now, I believe it's $1, I believe.
Should be the mayor.
Okay.
$1 plus taxes.
Yeah.
So my request would be, I would authorize the mayor to negotiate the lease. I would like to see the lease before the mayor authorizes it, simply because, and I'm not trying to be a stickler, what we do here could be a situation on any part of that bike path. And the last thing I honestly want to do, and nothing against the bike to see, is I do not want to give any more tax breaks on any property when we just left the finance meeting and every dollar is going to count. So if they're going to pay the dollar a month and pay the taxes, I'm fine with that, because I think it sets precedent for anybody else who wants to use city property around that path. I think we just have to be fair and prudent. I know it's a good use. I'm not against it. I just foresee other requests on that bike path, maybe not in that area, but other areas, that if we don't set the standard right, we're gonna be double talking what we need to do. So my request is, I have no problems in the mayor's office, have it sent back to review the lease and the terms, and I'm good with it. That'd be my, well, no, it's Council McDonald has the motion.
I'm hearing a motion to amend the
That'd be
paper
my motion to amend, yes.
by adding,
And I have no problem with discussion.
by adding a clause that the draft lease be provided to the council for review.
Yeah, whatever
Prior
committee wants
to
to do it, or the
execution.
council, whatever, that's fine, yep.
Is there a second? Council, that amendment has been seconded by Councilor Simonelli. Is there discussion on the amendment? Councilor McDonald.
That seems fine and prudent, I suppose, if we want to review the lease agreement. Just a couple of points of information. One, is our expectation that just any individual counselor who might have feedback could just send that to the legal department for input, or do we need to hold a whole public facilities or public properties committee meeting about this? Can we all just send it? Is that okay with you, Solicitor McNeil?
Yes, it is.
Okay, that sounds great, and like it'll streamline a little bit at the end here. And please give us a clear deadline when you would like that feedback by. I mean at the point that you send it to us. Be clear.
Yes, I will, okay.
Be
That
clear when
sounds-
we need to get back
yes.
to you. So is it, my understanding is that if it becomes city property is not subject to zoning in the same way. Is that accurate?
I believe that's accurate.
I mean, they have a variance, but if it's city property, then it's a moot point, right?
Yes, because it's now in the control of the city.
Okay. Right, indeed. I just wanted to clarify, so the previous paper was paper 16024, order that the city of Malden accept the gift of the parcel of land. And so we did pass that, but you're saying that we accepted it, but that has not been processed and recorded in
That's-
Middlesex County.
that's correct,
Because we've been
yes.
waiting on these other
That's
authorizations.
correct,
Okay,
yes.
got it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other discussion on the motion to amend?
Just so I'm clear, so the city solicitor will send the lease to the council electronically, and then if we have any questions, we send it back, and then we vote on it as a body, right? Is that the protocol? Well, my concern is if the lease comes back and there's no fee, I'm not supporting it. I'm being very honest with you. I'm not giving city property to one organization over another, so I think we should be collectively, then I would want to vote on it. Because we've tried this with other pieces of property in the city, and this body said no. And the idea that we pick one body, again, great organization, but what happens if somebody else in that route wants it and they want to do a good cause? Are we gonna say you can do that without any financial controls? I don't think that's a prudent move. It's city property. It should be come before the council then.
So I was just talking to the city clerk about how to exactly resolve this. I'm wondering if language around like maybe ratification, so like, I think we said, you know, prior to execution. So like if the lease could be drafted, because I think it makes sense to provide clear direction that the mayor is authorized to execute. Well, yeah, I guess this does say execute. So
Yep.
maybe to negotiate an agreement, maybe what I'm hearing is your amendment actually is that this paper say that the mayor is authorized to negotiate an agreement subject to council ratification.
The mayor negotiates every contract and it comes back to the council for review. This is no different in my opinion, right? We don't get in negotiations with any of the bodies here. It comes back to the council for a vote. I see no difference here.
I'm going to take that as that's what your motion is.
Yes.
More discussion on the motion. I see
Public
Councilor Simonelli, and then Councilor Cologne Hayes, and then Councilor McDonald for the second time.
Thank you, Mr. President. I think that what Councilor Spatafor is trying to say is that, you know, we're going to be heading into some really trim years budget-wise, and I think we've all been aware of that, and it's been a discussion not only here, but you all know I work in Everett, and, you know, they're kind of going through the same thing, except, you know, they get some extra money from the casino more than we do. And I think the concern here is, and it should be a concern, that, you know, once we start setting a precedent, and it's a great organization, Bike to the Sea, I mean, I'd do anything, you know, they want us to do, because it took a long time for them to get that done, and I give a lot of credit to Councilor Winslow for that. I remember being a little kid when they just started doing that with the railroad tracks. But I think that, you know, we've had this issue a while ago when I was on the council prior, if some of the councilors that were here remember that, you know, all of a sudden, everybody, you know, landscaping companies, trucking companies, everybody wanted to put their parcels of, their property on those parcels of land. And, you know, and the city wasn't making anything. And I think every penny is going to count over the next 3-4 years or so, you know, because we're going to be coming into some stringent times, especially after all the monies that have been given out over the COVID pandemic. And that money's going to be gone. So we need to be prepared for that, and we need to be prepared on how we are going to levy the taxes coming down the road. Because historically, what we would do, we would levy as much as we can, which is not fair to the business community, but every city and town does it. You levy as much as you possibly can to the business community so that you can give the homeowners a break off the levy and try and keep it down. Because what do you do if you can't balance the budget from the money that you're not getting in from industrial use and retail use? Then you're going to have to get the money somewhere. So you're going to have to levy the people who own homes. And boy, this place is going to be packed as soon as that happens. So we want to just be proactive and proactive, you know, and. Because we're going to be running into some tough times. And, you know, I know there are little parcels here and there and stuff, but, I mean, that money adds up. You know, so do parking and speeding tickets. So I just think it is prudent for us to cover ourselves by making sure that this is all in place. Like you all said, I hate to be beating a dead horse. Councilor McDonald said it well. Councilor Spatafor said it well. Look, it's a moot point as soon as we take it over anyway. But going into that negotiation, we want to make sure on the city side we are covered. That's all. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor Simonelli. Councilor Cologne Hayes.
Thank you. I had a question. I'm not sure if this is off the top of your head, but Councilor Spatafor had mentioned that there was something done in the past. Do we have some kind of a list there? I would be interested to know who we sold property to. Do you,
I actually,
oh. Oh, okay.
but I can provide a list of unique sales and
Okay.
dispositions. I believe I have that from a prior city assessor, and I'll try to get that to you tonight.
Okay, great. And then I also just wanted to respond to that. From my knowledge of it, I haven't been there yet, but this is a free, the Bike to the Sea, I believe, it's offering a community service, like you can go there for free and fix your bike. So anyway, go ahead.
Thank you, Councilor Cologne. Hayes, Councilor McDonald for the second time.
Yeah, so I understand the need to be clear about precedent. I appreciate the memo of all this. The thing I'm stuck, I'm even fine with us reviewing the terms of the lease since we ultimately control public property, although I don't believe there are a lot of agreements that we do ratify. The only time we ratify, I mean, we don't ratify union contracts. We change the ordinance subject to the agreement, but we're not involved in signing the agreement. We do not review the agreement prior to signature. I don't know if there are other examples of that. The one that we just got last 2 weeks ago was last week was really because we were basically ordered by a judge to ratify this particular parcel issue. So I don't know if I just want to be fair about that precedent. My actual bigger concern is, Councilor Spatafora, I want to make sure I'm hearing you correctly. You said it's important there's a fee. Do you just mean that we don't give anything away for free and there's at least a nominal fee, or do you mean a payment in lieu of taxes from the parcel? Because that is not the agreement that Bike to the Sea negotiated with anybody. I just looked it up.
Where's that agreement?
Are they gonna pay, were they gonna pay 20?
I thought it was a $10 tax.
Counselor, I'm going to go to Counselor Crowe for a point of
I
information.
believe when we saw the original one, it was like a fee, but then they were paying the taxes on just that one piece of property or land.
Counselor Crowe, do you know if part of the expectation from Bike to the Sea is that they're gonna pay us payment in lieu of taxes? Which is about, I looked it up, maybe $2,800 a year?
I never had that conversation with them, to tell you the truth. When this first was coming, I thought Bikes to the Sea was getting the land, but as a nonprofit, and we had that discussion, so, but I think in the original lease that they had, it did say the taxes, so.
Thank you, Counselor Crowe, for that point of information.
So let me just say here, I harp on the state of our city's finances as much as anybody. But just to be clear, we just talked in our finance committee that we have we are using 6.5 million, the budget proposal uses $6.5 million in new money. And so if we're gonna try to balance the budget on the backs of nonprofits who are providing free services to our folks by trying to get them to pay $2,000 in taxes, I'm not gonna support that. I'm trying to support the work happening that is actually already happening here. So, I also don't want to add, I would rather just table this now and figure out if that's even valid for what they're gonna do. But I can't believe that we would scuttle this agreement that they have worked so hard on over $2,000 in tax payments. I don't think that's what we would wanna do. But unless someone can confirm to me that that's part of the, Maria, do you know? I just feel like we should check that.
Counselors, if I could from the chair, I believe what Counselor Crowe just said when she gave her point of information is that the existing licensing agreement includes covering the taxes. And I don't believe that there is a contract yet drafted. I know that the mayor's office, representatives from the mayor's office are in attendance tonight. I think they've heard this discussion. I don't think it makes sense to hold it up. I think it makes sense to move the process forward. I am going to, Councilor McDonald, do you have any final words?
Well, I'm just trying to be clear about what expectation we're setting. And so if the amendment is that we authorize the mayor to negotiate a lease and agreement, and that he will provide that to the council for review, I'm okay with that. But I would just like to know, does anyone know if is it precedent setting for us to ratify an agreement like this? Are there other examples of that happening prior to signature?
I believe earlier you indicated that, the court did ask us to ratify the property agreement.
After signature.
Correct. So I do think that there is precedent, but I appreciate your feedback here. Is any other last statements?
Can I ask our city solicitor, are there other situations where we need to ratify agreements that the mayor signs?
I do not know of any other situation. Just for a point of clarification, there is no lease agreement now with the Bike Kitchen. They don't have an agreement with anybody. I believe it's expired. So we would be negotiating a brand-new lease agreement with them.
Thank you very much. Councilor Spatafora.
Here's my concern.
Oh, sorry, Councilor Spatafor.
So this is what I can't get my head around, okay? And I'll be very transparent, because I know that's our favorite word. There's an agreement that the Bike Kitchen signed with Hoffs that was paying, I read the agreement, I believe it was $1 or $10 a month, plus they were paying in lieu of taxes. They would, the bike, again, I'm not picking on Bike to the Bike to the Sea. It's a great organization. They got a grant to buy the kitchens, great. They had to get a variance, they did everything right. As far as I'm concerned, there was no reason for the city to take that property over other than the fact to give relief to not pay that rent anymore. Now, we have to have the risk of somebody getting hurt on there, so there has to be an insurance policy, okay? And it's not my job to pick which nonprofit gets to get city property for free. It is not. Because I can tell you right now, and I looked at the map, if this was the charter school asking to use a piece of property behind their building, what would the reaction up here be? I can tell you what the reaction would be. Absolutely not. So whatever, for free, exactly. You would support that?
Wait, please.
Okay, I'll remember that. I'm just saying, I don't understand what the impetus was for us to ask for that property, because I've asked the mayor's office, I asked Deb Burke, nobody can tell me why we asked for the property, which is concerning to me. And the other thing is, and I know Council Winslow's not here to defend himself, but what really bothered me when you read that document, the address of record who negotiated that was his. He's a city councilor. He's negotiating a contract on city property is a little too close from home. And if that was me, I would be all over the news. All right? No, let me finish, Councilor. So my concern is I want to know who asked for the property and what the problem is asking for the same term as before. Because again, if somebody else asked for that property, regardless of the cause, my answer is not going to be zero. It's not going to be zero. That's not fair. That's not fair to any organization. And they do a great amount of work, but my job here is not to give out city property for free. It's not. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor Spatafor. And just prior, Councilor Simonelli, just to clarify, one of the main reasons why the city does want to acquire the property is there's a desire to connect the Spot Palm Brook Greenway over that parcel in the future. But who asked it? I can tell you that was part of the design that I was involved in. I didn't specifically ask, but I know.
Nobody can tell me who asked that. That's my point.
Understood.
So it's right now, that property, right? If we did nothing, the Bike Kitchen would be there, they'd be paying rent, we'd have zero risk, and we'd be getting taxes. That's a win-win. Because you can still put that there with a lease.
Understood. So, and Councilor Simonelli, for the second time.
Thank you. I'll be as brief as I can. Listen, Council McDonald, I agree with you. I think it's a great idea on what's going on with the Bike to the Sea. It's been a wonderful organization for the last 25 years. Matter of fact, on the Health Expo that we're doing on June 22nd, I'm working with Councilor Winslow and Councilor O'Malley to do a bike run from Lincoln Commons to the Bike Kitchen and back. I think we're kind of getting ahead of ourselves right now. I think the proper thing to do for this council to be responsible, it's a great idea, and you've done a great job with it, Councilor. Just, we have nothing, honestly, we have nothing. Well, I think, listen, I think you do
He's on a roll.
Listen,
It's a good thing.
listen. My point is, I think that you do a good job as the chairman of finance. Is what I wanted to say. I was actually going to wait for personal privilege to say that to you tonight, but I guess I'll say it now. But the fact of the matter is that we're entering in on something that we haven't even read yet. Now, I think that's just a common sense 101 thing not to do. We want to make sure we're reading the language properly. We want to make sure that the mayor's office understands the language. Our city solicitor's office understands the language to protect the city in case something happens down the road. So, without that in our hands, we don't know who wrote it. We don't know who negotiated it, who initiated it. We need to have those things in front of us, or we're gonna end up with like another Route 60 project where everybody had this committee and no one showed up to it, and then nobody knew what happened, and the next day there's paint all over the ground and no one knows where they're going. Those are the things that need to stop to happen. Even though it was a great idea, you still gotta cover yourself by making sure that you have the proper documentation. I'm not saying I'm not supporting this thing. I'm buying a bike this year myself. So I'm buying one. So I'm just saying that, I just think it would be prudent for us to be able to have that documentation in front of us. Our wonderful city solicitor saying to us, hey, this is a great deal. This is a great thing for the city, and it protects us at the same time. That's all. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilor Simonelli. Councilor Hayes for the second time? Second time.
Thank you.
And just so everyone, I have a couple lights. Just make sure that your comments are directed to the amendment, which would be to authorize the mayor to negotiate in the agreement, and then we would then ratify that agreement once it's been negotiated.
This might not be that, I was just going to say maybe we could talk about policies on how to do that and procedures in public properties. Maybe we can make something so that this doesn't come up again. I'm not sure. I would like to also know what properties we've done this in the past. So anyway, that doesn't have to do with the amendment. Sorry.
No, you're fine. And Councilor Condon on the amendment.
Thank you, Mr. President. I don't think people realize how many small pieces of property. This is a non-buildable lot, and you got them all over the city. All over the city, and people have inquired for years that they're interested in buying it to square off their lot, and everything I've looked at, it's why should one neighbor get the shot at it and not the other neighbor? So it creates a problem. It really does, And you'd like to see the bike to the sea get it for a nominal fee, but you got to be careful who's the next in line. You say yes to this one, you're going to say yes to the next one, and the next one, and the next one, because that's the way it can happen. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Condon. Councilor Sika for the first time.
Thank you, Council President. So I agree with Councilor Spatafora. This issue came up in Ward 8 a couple of summers ago, I think now. Might have been right before summer recess a few years ago. Easton Cannabis Company was looking to lease or / purchase a tiny little unbuildable lot next to their location on Bennett Highway. And not looking for nothing, looking for us to generate some revenue for the city, and it was shot down. So I think maybe it should go to public properties where we do come up with some sort of process as to how this works, because in years past, the sitting city councilor would just put it on an agenda and we would vote on it. But we can't pick and choose what we're gonna vote on and what we're not gonna vote on. That clearly isn't working anymore. When I first sat on here, there was a parcel, I think, on Goodwin Ave in previous Councilor Murphy's ward, where, the residents were just looking to use it as an egress or getting in and on their drive. I forget, but it was something like that. But to Councilor Condon's point, I'm pretty sure this parcel abuts the Mystic Valley Gun Club, and they didn't get the option to possibly purchase that or lease that land for $10 a year in taxes. So I think that, I don't think we should be rushing into this. The bike to the Sea Kitchen is already in this location, and I think we need to make sure what it is we're gonna do moving forward before we just sign anything. This is not disrupting their business. They're open. They're there all the time. So as of right now, I think it wouldn't be a bad thing if we tabled it. It wouldn't be a bad thing if we sent it to the mayor's office, but I think we need a little bit more clarification, or maybe send this back to public properties and have this conversation in a committee instead of a council of a whole trying to determine what it is we're gonna do up here for all these little slivers of unclaimed property. Because I have one at the end of my street that I'm sure each neighbor on each side would love to add to their backyard. So I think we need to come up with a plan moving forward on how this is going to get done before we just jump the gun and vote either way. I'm for tabling, I'm for sending it to the mayor's office as long as it comes back here, so we can make sure that, everybody's in agreement on what's going to happen. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Sika. And just from the floor really quickly, the Chapter 30B manual for real property that's attached to the agenda, that goes into detail about the difference between, a for-profit use, which is what the Eastern cannabis use would have been for the parking lot, and the distinction here of it being for a public benefit, and the fact that there's public access and potentially being the location of the northern, or the Spot Pond Brook connecting to the northern strand. So that's the difference, because I also agree, I was like, wait, the last time something like this came up, I was opposed to it. What is the difference here? Why is this allowed? And that's really the reason why I've held it up for the last, I think it's been over a month now, just really making sure that I fully understood the nuance here. But I appreciate your feedback there. Councilor McDonald for the third and final time on the amendment.
So, yeah, I agree that all of these due process pieces are important. I would just note that we have had a similar conversation a couple times now and gotten a lot of information. And so I don't think we are rushing into anything. We had a hearing committee in which we talked about these distinctions about public benefit and public use. We talked about the nature of this rare situation, which is not that we are making a decision about a pre-existing piece of public land. It's that we accepted this land, and in our acceptance, it was for this explicit purpose. We would not be in possession of this property if there wasn't a bike kitchen already on it. I'll be honest, that my concern, honestly, at this point, is that right now, the bike kitchen is in legal limbo, and we're not clear who's responsible or accountable for it, because it's not clear who owns the land. And I think that we have been trying to go forward with this. I'm just pointing out that when there have been a lot of conversations up to this point and that we are not rushing into things, I would be happy to support an amendment that says negotiate subject to review of the council, and that we will schedule a meeting of the Public Property Committee to review it and talk about it when we have a draft. Could we do that? And then we can see where we're at in this. I am frankly not comfortable with setting the precedent that we need to ratify agreements about uses of public spaces that the mayor enters into, because the Public Facilities Department does that all the time. And so I just want to be careful. That's the thing that I'm stuck on, is whether we're establishing a different precedent right now. But if we can stick with negotiate and review, we'll have another meeting of the Public Properties Committee, and we can talk about this whenever but I think we would need to see, when we have a lease draft to work on.
And I agree with that. I'm not gonna counter that.
Councilor Spatafor.
No, I agree. I support that.
So is that a friendly amendment?
No, I accept it.
Okay.
Because that's, I think, what I was trying to do. But again, I want to go back to my challenge. Nobody can tell me why we're accepting the property. We accepted the property when the bike kitchen was already there. It was already there because they had an agreement with Hoff's, right? So we accepted it because somebody in this city went to Hoff's and said, will you give it to us? I don't know where that goes, right? Because I'm assuming, again, if we didn't take the property, nothing changes. Now that we're in the middle, I think it's a concern. We got to take it over. My question is, the reason why I always want to see the contract, I know it's a public good. Do they have to have insurance? I'm sure they do too, but my question is, as a counselor, we're very prudent. We should make sure they should have insurance, because now I feel like we are at risk, right? Somebody gets hurt there, they're suing the city, right? And so, again, I want to be very clear what we establish with this piece of property going forward is, because I already have people asking me further down the bike path if they can rent it. Full disclosure. So my question is, I don't know what that process is. Now, I know it's public good and all these things. There was an agreement that I read that just said they were paying the taxes. I was happy with that, to be quite honest with you, because everybody wins. I'm not trying to be, I'm not trying to be money hungry, but I also think it's a clear path to everybody comes in and says, just pay the taxes, right? But they had the grand opening before we accepted the property. So I don't think the city did anything wrong here. I don't know what happened. Like I said, that agreement that was negotiated I believe it expired in February 20, it was is this a leap year? Was it 30th? It expired February. We started talking about this in the beginning of March. So there was already things in motion. And so the idea, like I said, is I don't know why we're accepting it. We're going to accept it, move forward, but I just want to make sure everything's clear. I's are dotted, T's are crossed. I support the motion by Councilman McDonald.
Thank you, Councilor Spatafora. And just to restate for the clerk, the way I understand it is that the mayor is authorized to negotiate an agreement and that it will be submitted to the Public Properties Committee for review. Okay. Are we all on the same page? Okay. So Councilor, okay, so now you've withdrawn your amendment, Councilor Spatafora. The Councilor McDonald's amendment, seconded by Councilor Simonelli. All those in favor on the amendment, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? The amendment has been passed unanimously. Is there a motion to adopt the order as amended, or? On Councilor Simonelli's motion to adopt the order as amended, seconded by Councilor McDonald. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? The order has been adopted as amended unanimously. The docket is clear. Personal privilege, Councilor Simonelli. Oh, wait, no, okay. Personal privilege, Councilor Hayes, Cologne
Oh,
Hayes.
no, then I was like, I was ready to let you speak for a second. I almost forgot what I was going to say. All right, I'm sorry, I jumped the gun on that one. Oh, I know what it was, sorry. Okay, so I would like to thank the whole city council that the Malden Youth Council will be up and running and applications are out. You all should have gotten an email with how you can apply, and we've already sent out advertisements to the Advocate, to each high school here in Malden, the superintendents, all organizations that work with youth, and we're hoping to get back applications, and you can go online. It's on, people have been sharing it, but basically the email you can reach out to is the CEIC, which is Community Inclusion Community Engagement and Inclusion Committee, thank you, at gmail.com. And you'll be seeing like advertisements all over, and hopefully we'll get a good group in to interview. So I'm really, really excited. First one ever here in Malden. Thank you.
Councilor McDonald.
Very quickly, wanted to let folks know we are scheduling the public hearing as required in our rules for our annual budget on Tuesday, June 11th at 6 p.m. We're going to make this a public hearing and Q&A so that people can also ask questions. We'll find a way to ask questions and get a little bit of presentation on the budget as a whole. So hopefully that'll engage folks a little more. We'll place a notice in the paper. I would just ask that you share that with your networks if you have, it's one of the biggest decisions we make, so we love to have public input on the annual city budget process. And I will also note that our next town hall meeting of the Racial Equity Commission is now scheduled for Thursday, June 27th. That will follow up on the one that we had in February. The commission has been meeting to just review the feedback that we got in February and be able to dig into a couple of key areas with folks. We'll make sure those areas are available in advance so folks know what to expect. So that'll be Thursday, June 27th, and I'll remind you again. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor McDonald.
Just one more thing. I'm sorry. And I just wanted to say congratulations and thank you to everybody who participated in Porch Fest. It was a really beautiful time to meet your neighbors and hear some great music, and special thanks to the organizing committee.
Councilor Condon.
Thank you, Mr. President. First, I'd like to thank you for your kind words about John McNaught. I've known John for over 60 years, from the time he used to come down and visit his grandmother, Mrs. McNaught. She was the only house on the street that never yelled at us kids when we misbehaved, but he was a unique person. He's one of the finest people I've ever seen appointed to a position, it was perfect for him. He wanted to help people, and he always had a kind word for everyone. And as people start to hear about John, they come and they say, you know, what a fine man he was, what a gentleman. You know, he was a lawyer for a number of years. You couldn't tell if he was a lawyer or worked in a school, you know, worked anywhere. He was just a normal person who was loved by anybody that took the time to get to meet him. And comes from a great family. You know, the McNaughts, judges, police captains, lawyers, FBI people, and just a fantastic family. So I couldn't leave here tonight without saying a few kind words about John. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Condon. Just briefly from the chair, if I don't see any other lights, you reminded me of something that Solicitor McNaught said to me early on, and that was, and it's always stuck with me, that politics is the fine art of compromise. And I think that is so true, and I believe if we can channel that as a council and as a community, we are going to be going to great places together. So I appreciate those kind words. Thank you. On Councilor Sika's, Councilor Simonelli.
Thank you, Mr. President. I appreciate it. All right. So first of all, I just wanted to say that, I know I already started saying it, but I just want to say that, Council McDonald, I just want to let you know that I think you have been doing a great job as somewhat of a rookie council. I guess we're in our first year of a second term.
Second.
Right, first year of a second term, is that where we're at? Because we kind of come in together this time, right? But I just want to say that it's one of the most hardest committees, obviously, because there's only so much of the pie and everybody wants a piece, and it's very difficult, and we're heading into some difficult times. And from some of the meetings that I got to see, I just think that you do a fantastic job. You make sure you dot your I's and cross your T's, and I think you care a lot about the city and its financial status, and I just wanted to let you know that. I mean, I'm the first one to jar at somebody for something, but I'm also, first to give people compliments where I think is due, and you've been doing a great job this year, so I just wanted to let you know that. The other thing is I wanted to talk about a little bit is about, I know some of you have read it probably in the paper, about the Temple site on Bryant Street, which is going to be 30-some-odd units of affordable home ownership. And that is something that has been in the works for 3 years now. I had a friend of mine lives across the street from there, and I grew up in that neighborhood my entire life, so I went to school with a lot of the congregational people that are still there, their children and grandchildren, so I know a lot of them. And I know it was just sitting there. I just want to kind of give the background on this. And I know it was sitting there. I see you're leaving because you already announced it. But anyway, the thing is this. The first thing that I saw that building was not in use much. And I saw it starting to deteriorate. And if anybody knows me as a city council and knows any of my past being a city council, I created a great many affordable housing units. I brought Housing Family in with 20 of their units, along with their office space. And but then we built next door to them at the old Grape Street Park that was not designated as a park, and we built 8 single-family homes for people to purchase at an affordable price, just like we did around the corner over at the Lincoln site, Lincoln Common site, and scattered throughout the entire city. And that project was done at a time that was desperately needed because it was right after 9/11, and the city was about $3.5 million short on the budget. And as you know, if you know anything about the city's budget, $3.5 million is a lot of money to deal with, to replace. So we were gonna have to lay off teachers, firemen, policemen, and what have you. So I ended up getting a home rule petition to get some of these properties that the city owned. Some needed variances and some didn't. Long story short, as I can make it, we ended up raising over $3 million for the city's budget to put back into the budget so we didn't have to lay off anybody. Had to get a home rule petition on, because usually when you sell property, the money has to go back into public properties. So we allowed them to take the handcuffs off us, and our state delegation did such a good job up there with the proposal that it ended up being a statewide proposal. So the state allowed any city in town during that period of time for 1 year on a grandfather clause that if they had any public properties, they could sell it and put it into the general fund instead of the line item of the, yeah, they're winning anyway, so they can wait. They're winning on the public properties. But I just want to say this. That project, when it was first looked at, I looked at it as being a neighborhood, well, east side multi-service center, because we had one down there years ago, and we lost it. But anyway, it didn't turn out to be that. But I'm going to say the first council that I talked to about it was actually Councilor O'Malley. And he actually brought the idea up to me that said that, hey, you know what, Chris, I think that would be a really good spot. I got a memory like an elephant, folks. That would be a really good spot to do something over there with either some housing or some recreational stuff. You know, you might want to look into that and see about doing that. And I did, and here we are today, so I want to thank you for the advice. I appreciate that. And then I want to also recognize Amanda Lenahan. And I don't know if you read the paper, but, you know, there were some accolades given to Amanda Lenahan, not because she sits on that ARPA committee that we have several of that are not a standing committee. They're a subcommittee that the mayor made of several of these ARPA funding committees for the monies. I sit on one, councilors, we all sit on them. The one I sit on, we gave the Bread of Life, I don't know, over $1 million, and we gave, I think it was Housing Families over $1 million to help with the rent. But I mentioned Amanda Lenahan because, you know, sometimes I sit and watch and look around, and you know, I've been here a while. You know, 10 years the last time. I'm 3 years now, and I admire Councilor Lenahan because she's just not sitting on that committee because somebody put her on that committee. I've been watching her for the last 3 years push for affordable housing and stay on that committee because she's sincere about that and she has a passion for that. So I respect that. So I just want to, again, I want to thank you for the hard work that you have done on getting this project off the ground. And also I want to do this because one of my colleagues did it on Facebook after they took their vote from a subcommittee and kind of adopted the project, I guess. But anyway, I want to give everybody the skinny on this story here. So the mayor's office, obviously, along with Ron Hogan, who was an instrumental part in this, strategic planning and development as well has been instrumental. Councilor Spadafora here sat with me on many meetings at the congregation to help me with the financial end of things because that's his forte and what we were going to do with the project. And I've done many of these projects in my neighborhood, and they've worked out great. And the biggest thing that we were focusing on, because everybody talks about affordable housing, listen, I grew up in Suffolk Square, Newland Street. I live in Bowden Apartments. Now I work in a prison. Listen, there's no more about affordable housing that I don't know about and that I don't live around. My thing is this, though. You can put a bubble over Malden and make all Malden affordable housing, and we would still have a waiting list. That's how bad it is out there in the community. So any little thing that we can do to help out is great. And that's why I think you need a balance. We talked about it, myself, Councilor Spadafora, Debbie Burke and her team, the mayor's office, and we really hit it hard to say, no, we want to do some affordable home ownership. where we can, because there's not a lot of land in Malden, there's nowhere to build anymore. We want to bring people into this great city. We want them to, lay their roots down. We want their kids to go to school with our kids. We want them to have the experiences of Malden that we've had. So, and everybody wants the American dream. And slowly but surely, they're losing the American dream. And at this point, I know that, Councilor Crowe is doing something similar in her ward as well, and she has been working on that. But I think that it's important that we have a balance. And, because I'll tell you, the influence that I had growing up in the projects, there was Holloway Street right next to the project where I grew up. And they had nice houses with built-in pools in the back. I even dated one of the people's daughters over there. I think it was a Spatafora, actually. And, but the thing was...
Is there a time limit?
No, come on.
I was thinking
Come
the same
on,
thing.
come
I was
on,
thinking the
always
same
early.
thing.
We're always early. Listen,
Rules are gonna be changed.
listen, I'm entertained. I don't even need this mic. But no, honestly, I think this is something that should be known on what this council and this mayor's office and the Plan and Development Committee is trying to do. So, again, I think you need an equal balance because, when people that don't own a home, don't own a car, they look across the street and they see those people going to work every day and they're going to work in a nice car and they got a nice house. What's the first thing you say? Because I know it had an influence on me. I go, geez, I'd like to have that someday. I'd like to work on that someday. So those are the things that we're trying to do. I'm also in the process right now of sniffing out a couple of more projects for a couple of other affordable housing components. So I just want to say thank you to all the people that have helped me since I was elected. And I've been working on this project before I was even inaugurated.
You're welcome.
So thank you all.
Motion to adjourn.
You got it. Thank you. I appreciate it. Thanks. I know. I didn't know there was a baby in here.
Thank you, Councilor Simonelli.
Thank you.
On Councilor Sika's motion to adjourn, seconded by Councilor Spatafora.
Thank you.
All those in favor, please say aye.
I feel
Aye.
good
Any
tonight, man. I
opposed?
feel like talking to
We are
everybody.
adjourned.